When I was a kid, things were cooler. Not like in a way how really old people say shit like, you know, Super Friends was peak or some bullshit like that. More in a way of like how the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob are peak and now it's just kind of ass. What I'm getting at, my precious blokes, is that recently on Twitter, the production designer and artist Yuki Demers and storyboard artist Patrick Harpin announced they pitched a Batman Beyond animated movie in the vein of Into the Spider-Verse to WB. They dropped some concept art and it looks, well, if I may use the scientific terminology, badder than a bitch. It looks really fucking good. Now, the only stipulation is that they pitched this to WB 5 months ago with the initial attitude from Warner Brothers being, we can't do this shit. But after the pitch, apparently that tune changed and they have been working their way up the chain of command at DC and Warner Brothers, trying to get a meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran. The very odd thing is that just yesterday, a Jurassic League animated film was announced to be in development, which is of a comic run from 2022 by Daniel Warren Johnson, I believe Juan Gedeon. DWJ is an absolute beast. Definitely recommend anything that he does, especially his Beta Ray Bill run, so good. But basically that commenced a blizzard of whining and bitching of a certain group of people saying, we get this, but not Batman Beyond? Even though the release of this project doesn't equate to the Batman Beyond film being rejected. Like, nowhere have I seen that it's being rejected. I mean, it's going up the chain of command. They're trying to get with James Gunn and Peter Safran. They say that the tune changed from never to maybe. Like, it looks like it's not rejected. This is not entirely, but in large part being parroted by the enclave of smooth brains who still have a vendetta against WB because of the Snyderverse. So they have to pull numbers out of their ass as their only cope for a movie that most people didn't like, okay? Real shit, BVS was the real start of a burgeoning connected cinematic universe with Batman and Superman, the most popular characters in the world. Meeting for the first time in live action on the big screen, Wonder Woman was even heavily in the promotion, okay? All of them, first live action meeting under the premise that they would be fighting, okay? That's hella enticing. I thought it was. That's why I went to go see the movie in 2016 in March. Or let's just say a movie with Will Smith, pre-Red Table Talk, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, and our first live action big screen Joker since the unfortunate passing of Heath Ledger. One that would have effectively been the Joker for this new exciting universe. It's not even a Marvel vs. DC thing. The whole tone of that time was that Marvel just did their connected universe and now DC is going to start theirs. We're getting to see our favorite Marvel characters in live action interacting with each other with the MCU, and now we were going to be getting our favorite DC characters doing the same. So it's kind of not a wonder that those movies would make the type of money that they made. The most popular characters in the world, the start of a brand new universe, it's really not that hard to understand why those movies made a whole lot of money. It just is what it is. It's not very indicative of the quality of those movies. A lot of people like those movies, and if you like those movies, if you care about those movies, that's awesome. I want you to enjoy the things you care about. The thing about it is that that large amount of people who like them is usurped by the even larger amount of people who didn't like them. My money comprises that $800+ million movie, and I walked away not liking what I saw. The same with Suicide Squad, just like many other motherfuckers, okay? I could go on, maybe I'll save that for another video, but please know when you become a financial analyst for a company you hate, you've essentially, in a way, become what you hate. It just is what it is. No need to cry over spilled milk. Give new things a chance. So here's the thing. I'm not going to say I'm aware of all the ins and outs of the movie industry. I'm not going to pretend like I know how big businesses work, but I'd imagine there is a process of how things come to fruition. I'd imagine that James Gunn and Peter Safran are quite busy people, and it would take some time to schedule a meeting with them to fully hear a pitch, and then thereafter make plans, if greenlit, to effectively add that to all that they already have planned. Remember, Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters still hasn't fully been announced, so who knows what will get announced next. I'd imagine James Gunn has already seen all of this Batman Beyond news because of how online he is, but it would need to go through the proper channels to see the project actually come to light, which I'm hoping when that happens, he does greenlight this because this looks amazing. For those of you who don't know, Batman Beyond was a TV show that debuted at the turn of the millennia in 1999, with it taking place in the future around 2019, around that time, which goddamn, I was a kid watching this show and the future was 2019, and here I am in 2024 at 26 years old. So basically my life is about to be over. But this show lasted for 3 seasons and about 52 episodes. There there was some weird gaps with the episodes and some of the storylines had to get finished in other DCAU programs, but this show was overall great. The premise was that Bruce Wayne got too old to be Batman and is now taken on another protege, Terry McGinnis, after Terry lost his father due to the Joker gang, which is a soft spot as we all know for Batman. He stole the new Beyond Batsuit, which is like top 5 of all Batsuits that Batman has ever had. It has like increased strength, crazy rocket boots, and a plethora of other gadgets. He had a pretty nice rogues gallery of villains. The one in the concept art in particular is Ink, a kind of Clayface-esque shapeshifter character who debuted in episode 3 of the show. The show gets pretty crazy down the line with us finding out that Terry is actually Bruce's son in just the wildest way possible. Like his dad got genetically sneakoed, essentially. Okay, the world of Batman Beyond is, I think, best described as a like neo-noir mixed with like cyberpunk, as you can tell from the art. So the environment is also just something to behold. So an Into the Spider-Verse type animation with this would be just beautiful, and it just overall was such a good show and a continuation of the Batman the Animated Series story. It was so good that it had its own comics made during the show's release and after. Even one of my personal goats, Sean Gordon Murphy, just had his take on Batman Beyond and his White Knight universe, which I need to get to finishing. I think once I finish reading Invincible, I'm going to take a crack at a handful of the Batman Beyond runs, especially if this project does get approved, which I believe it very well will. I think Gunn, being such a fan of DC, is probably already aware of this character and a fan of the Batman Beyond series, and Gunn seems to want to prioritize animation. I think it's a good move business-wise just because animated movies tend to be cheaper to make. Like, there have been so many animated DC movies before of varying quality, I would say, but none have really got me going, honestly, like this one. Something like this in the animation style of Into the Spider-Verse, which everyone is on that wave right now, and for good reason. You know, Into the Spider-Verse cost 90 mil and it made 384 million. Across the Spider-Verse made 690 million on a budget of 100 mil. Okay, that is insane profit. That just goes to show if you make good movies, people will eventually show up. Now, the time cost would be the only thing that would be worrisome, just because these movies take a while to make, 3 to 4 years on average, depending on the runtime they go with, but they'd have to incur a time debt to then see if their efforts would eventually pay off and the film would be profitable, which I'd imagine it would. Okay, it's like Batman. Batman is always a hot seller and kids are going to want to see Batman movies, and those kids' parents, especially for this Batman, are going to want to see the movie too. It can introduce younger audiences to a brand new Batman. It can be so far removed from the main DCU continuity being in the future. It doesn't have to, but it can still technically be in the DCU, or you can just make it an Elseworld series, which I'd imagine is what they do, just in case things ever change. Of course, it's distant enough to be malleable for change. All around, I feel this is a huge dub. I hope this is something that doesn't interfere with Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, and it can be fit in or be incorporated in some way or another into this chapter or a later one. I think Gunn and Safran have a full plate ahead of themselves, especially with Gunn starting filming on Legacy next week. I think he's going to be pretty busy, so hopefully they can find time to schedule that meeting. All in all, I'm glad this is a thing. I think it will eventually get made, and even if it doesn't, we got a bunch of other stuff coming through, so I'll be okay regardless. I always have these series to fall back on. Definitely not gonna throw a bitch fit about this, but I hope they make this. But let me know what y'all think about this news, whether you really are dying for Batman Beyond content, you're neutral either way, or you just don't care. Let me know. But that's it. If you liked the video, leave me a thumbs up, comment down below, and if you want, subscribe. I always appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope all of you guys are well, and I will see you in the next one.